Good morning, everyone. My name is Paul, and I am a nerd. And you are here for our Coffee Pot webinar in the beautiful, sunny, cold month of September. Welcome to Michigan in September. How cold is it out there, Patty? Is it still 55 or 60?
I think last I checked, it was somewhere mid-50s.
Yeah, we actually turned the heat on, so.
Enough for long sleeves.
Yeah, there you go. So today we are talking about Metric, our new cloud-based dashboard, and how it can put KPIs in front of anybody that may need them in your firm. KPIs, by the way, are key performance indicators. Basically, the numbers that those attorneys and certain other people in the firm really have their eye on. That's it. That's it for the preamble. Let's get out of here. Press all the magic buttons that are going to get me out of here. And I'm going to go into, I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up some sample data in practice or in tabs, just so you can see what we're working with. We're working with our NFR data. So I'm going to, bear with me while I go to the right place here. Let me get into tabs. I'm going to sign in as Ron, who's an attorney, and Ron wants to find something out. So he goes to tabs, right? Isn't that where you go? And he says, well, I need to know what everybody billed last week, and I want to, compare it to other people, and I want to be able to then say, well, what about the week before, or what about this month, what about last month, what about this year? I want all this information about what people are billing hour-wise. So if Ron knew what he was doing, which, he probably doesn't because he's an attorney and he's just in here trying to get some information. He probably doesn't even know what report to run. So his solution to the problem may be to pick up the phone and say, Sylvia, print me that information that shows me the hours. And so Sylvia might come in here and get into transaction reports, and she might end up printing a transaction file list, but she's got to go through all these screens to figure out what it is that Ron wants. And she's got to figure out, well, what date range? So, he's looking for fees. He doesn't care about payments, but what date range? And all sorts of options. How do we sort it? What do we show? What format is it in as far as the fields that we're showing? What sort order? All this stuff. So first off, there's got to be a report that shows exactly what Ron wants to look for. But second off, I said he wanted it for last week. But then immediately after that, he says, okay, well, now let's look at the week before. Now let's look at this month so far. Now let's look at last month. Well, if Ron's running these reports, he's got to come back and rerun them and maybe print them out and compare them and start putting things into a spreadsheet because he wants to see all 10 timekeepers, but he wants to see them by week, and then he wants to group them and do them by. It's basically kind of a nightmare to instantly get to information that you need. Now, that's not to say these reports aren't good. Don't get me wrong. There's reports in tabs and AP and GL and Trust and Practice Master that provide some very, very useful information. But what we have discovered throughout the years is that really people just want certain key bits of information. KPIs, key performance indicators. And so they really want some place where they can go and get that at a glance and then be able to interact with it. And lawyers and a lot of people that are number people even, we say number people like spreadsheets and numbers and reports, but even then, people do better with pictures. And they understand relationships with pictures. And they want these things right in front of them to compare. I want to see Bob compared to Ron compared to Joanne as far as billable hours. And well, how about non-billable? Let's look at non-billable. Maybe the reason Joanne has less billable is because she has more. Oh, look, she does. Don't look because I'm not really showing anything yet. And that's where dashboards come in. Now, I'm going to show you our dashboard product. And in a minute, I'm going to go ahead. I am going to go ahead and talk about the basis for how we get this data there and how things work and how the whole underlying infrastructure works. But first, let's take a look. So this is Metrics www.attorneycomputersystems.com. Now, you can go there. There's not much to see right now, and you don't have an account. And the product is probably going to be called Metric, so that address will change. But you are free to come here, and in a minute we'll talk about what that means for you. And it's not all that pretty right now. We haven't really flushed out all the screens that describe how it works. We're prototyping the dashboard itself right now. And so I'm going to log in, and it already knows who I am, so I'm just going to go with that information. And immediately I see a list of my available dashboards, and then it jumps right to the first dashboard. Okay. Now, if you were paying attention or you happened to notice, what happened was it jumped down on the page to show me that dashboard, and I still have this list of dashboards. And what you'll see as we go through this is I only have one dashboard right now. NFR dashboard, why does it say NFR? We have an NFR copy of the software. It's a not for resale copy. And that's where all our demo data lives. So this is just an NFR dashboard to show what we can do and how we can interact with these key performance indicators. Now, this particular dashboard, let's move down just a little and make the dashboard the center of attention here. This particular dashboard looks at hours, billable hours, okay? Billable hours that are logged. Maybe they haven't been billed yet, maybe they have been billed yet. Metrics and this dashboard system can look at everything. If it's in tabs, we can look at it. So some of the other key performance indicators that we're looking at building standard dashboards for would be cash receipts, or non-billable time, or profit, or total expenses, total income, or how about income broken down by timekeeper? All these things are things, if it's in tabs, if it's in GL AP Trust, then it is something that we can build a dashboard for. Now, this information that I'm looking right here is coming from our demo system, our not for resale, our NFR copy. And I'm currently looking at all of time, and what I'm looking at is hours and amounts by timekeeper name. So Michael Jensen, for the period that I'm looking at, which currently is the period of 2013 to 2017, I'm looking at everything right now, he's got 552.53 hours logged, and that it works out to an amount of 216,422.55. Okay. If I hover over Kendra, we see her figures, we see his figures, or her figures, and Robert and Ronald. We see everybody there. Now we have a couple other things going on here. We have different little widgets, if you will, that we can drop in or take out. We can design this any way that needs to be done. And so here we are looking at the same summarized data for everybody, broken down by geographical location. Here we have an overall total, if you will. Here we have how things break down by month, and here we have things and how they break down by client. So you'll see in this particular example that when we're looking at everybody, Mega Construction is our biggest client. Over here we have some selectors, so we can say, now when they're not checked or when they're not being used, we're looking at everything. But let's say, let's just look at build time, okay? And notice how it instantly adjusts. Now let's just look at unbilled time. So I'm going to check unbilled and I'm going to uncheck build. And so there's our unbilled time. Somebody's got a lot of unbilled time. Who is that unbilled time for? Well, notice that when I click on him, my other widgets, if you will, change to reflect the person I drilled down to. I can drill back up to show you that this is everybody. Let me get up there. Yep. And when I click on Michael Jensen, when I'm in a drill down mode, everything changes to reflect Michael Jensen. I'm drilled down to him, but I could also drill back up and say, well, drilling down, of course, takes you into one person, and then you go back up and you can go into another person. What if I wanted to look at all unbilled time, but I don't want to look at Michael, I want to look at Kendra and Paula. That's when we use these selectors over here, okay? And I'm still looking at unbilled, and I only want billable time. I only want unbilled billable time. Didn't change much, but as you can see, as I move around these things and interact with these controls, or drill down with my drill down capability, I can take and instantly look at different data. Instantly. Now, in a minute, I'm going to qualify that because it has to do with how often we're pulling data from your system, which defaults to being a nightly thing. So instantly doesn't mean that if Sylvia in the billing department entered some more billable time 10 minutes ago for Paula Martin that it's going to show up here. It wouldn't show up on the dashboard till tomorrow. We'll talk more about that in a second. We also have what's called a slider or a time selector. So I'm currently looking at things in a yearly mode. And so here's 2013, and here's 2014. That's where most of our demo data that's pre-configured into the system lives. There's 2015. Okay, now I want to go back to 2014, and I want to look at it in a monthly mode. So here I am in 2014, and I'm just going to slide this over because I want to look at November, because I happen to know that's where a good bulk of this demo data lives. It lives on 11/15/14. Now I want to look at November of 2014 in a weekly mode. Okay, so I'm going to slide this over again. Oops. And I'm going to be in 2014, November. And you'll notice that the highlighting is on that month right now. It kind of shows me how it overlaps weeks and whatever. And now I can say, okay, what was the last full week of the month like? Oh, that was pretty bad. Didn't do anything then. And the next one, oh, this must be where a lot of the time lives. And I'm guessing a lot of the time lives in here because our demo data happens to have a lot of time in this 2-week period. Maybe I want to go down to a daily mode. Again, I got to slide my slider over and find out where I am. I guess it gets into a pretty hairy situation of, there we go. It becomes a little bit difficult to navigate because you've got just days and days and days and days and days. And so remember what I said, I think it's the 15th, maybe I'm mistaken, maybe I'm in the wrong period. But things live on a certain date. So November 15th, obviously I'm wrong about that being where things live. So let's go back out to a yearly mode, and let's go back out and select 2014. But you get the picture. I can look at things in a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, or yearly mode. I can slide things around. I can make them encompass whatever range I want. I can drill down. I can see things. In this example, I can see things geographically. If that's important to you, that's cool. If it's not, it's not. I can see things and change them by drilling down. I can basically play with my key performance indicators, my metrics, right here in a dashboard that I don't even have to be in the office to access. So let's talk about that for a second. How does this work? This is a website. It's attorneycomputersystems.com, so it's our metrics subdomain. As I said, that'll probably be renamed to metric because that's going to be the title of the product name. And this lives, obviously, in the cloud. So how does that work? Well, we have a totally secure server that houses portals for some of our clients, houses our metrics data, houses certain other things. That server is set up to allow people to log into the metrics system once they have a login and an account. Where does it get its data from? Is it calling your computer every time somebody asks? No. It is refreshing its data out of the box, at least in our initial price point configuration. Out of the box, it's going to be a nightly refresh. So every night, your server wakes up after we install something on it, a connector, if you will. Your server wakes up, runs whatever queries are necessary against your data set to produce the metrics that you are concerned with looking at. Basically, it gets the data you need, and it, over a very secure connection, copies it over to our server where it's encrypted. Okay. Then, when you log into our metric product, it knows who you are, it knows what firm you're in, of course, and it knows what set of dashboards you specifically have been granted access to by the administrator of your firm's metric account. So your controller, your system administrator, your IT person, whoever set this up using our infrastructure and using the tools we provide, has granted you, the user, access to a certain set of dashboards for your firm's data. You see that set of dashboards when you log in. We talked about that. It's up here. I only have one. You would probably have more. And so when you select a dashboard, it uses that encrypted data that's stored on our metrics server to produce your dashboard with real, I almost said real live data, because that's a thing, real live data, but it's not live data. But it is the data that was pulled in the last pull. Now, again, this is a prototype of a product that we are due to be releasing very soon. It's currently about to enter a beta phase, meaning we are looking actively for people that want to beta test this product for us, and they'll get a special deal on the pricing. And so, therefore, there are a set number of default dashboards that you can see, and there is a set default interval of data refresh, which, as I said, is every night. Now, if your firm decides that they want to pay a little bit more, and they have a server that will support it, because there's a little bit of draw on your software technology, or your STI, your tabs-free server, when we make this transfer. But you could get it transferring data on a twice-a-day basis. Maybe it's going to transfer data again at noon. There is at least it's built into the system, the ability to refresh your data every hour if you'd like to. And if you have a more powerful enough server to do that, we certainly have the power on our end to be accepting your data on an hourly basis. And so what that means is that if they sent bills this morning and got them all updated at about 1 o'clock, and you went back into your dashboard, let's say a little after 2, you would be guaranteed to be looking, if that were the case, if you were refreshing your data on an hourly basis, you would be looking at fresh dashboard data that reflected those new bills that were sent, and new build hours and all that stuff would be up there. Now, for most people, most firms, most needs, a nightly refresh is more than enough. What kinds of dashboards can you have? Well, we are planning on having a default group of dashboards that you get when you sign up for the service, okay? And so there will be one very much like this with your hours sort of analysis. There will very likely be one that deals with cash receipts. There could be one that deals with the receipt allocation that's built into tabs, because that information's already there. There will probably be profit loss type dashboards and key performance indicators for people that have general ledger and accounts payable. There will very likely be a cash flow dashboard that will show cash flow positions at certain points in time for people that have our AP and general ledger. We're thinking about some dashboards that are more PI related, that are going to track situations that would benefit somebody that's doing contingency work and somebody that probably cares a little bit less about hourly billing. And those dashboards that we define up front will be able to be configured or left out of any user that gets set up. So those dashboards are kind of in the box. They're there, they're waiting for you, they're predefined. And so if you have 10 users in your firm, you might say, well, I want all 10 users to have these 3 dashboards, and this extra dashboard I want for Bob and Joe for whatever reason. And there might be 6 other default, out-of-the-box dashboards that your firm just plain doesn't look at, which is fine. What else could you look at in a dashboard? Well, anything. Anything that is in tabs, APGL, Trust, Practice Master, any of the STI software. So if you say, well, okay, we like the fact that you have dashboards, and we like 2 or 3 of them, and we use them all the time, but remember I mentioned that we could do a dashboard right out of the box that does receipt allocation the way tabs does receipt allocation. Great. Not all of our clients do receipt allocation exactly the way tabs does, and so they built in other mechanism, or they could build in other mechanisms to do that receipt allocation within tabs. We would normally, before a dashboard product, we would have written a custom report, and we would have come up with a way to do that receipt allocation that falls outside the framework of what tabs is able to do, but we can do it in a custom report because we can modify the formulas, or we can change the way things are distributed, or we can do whatever needs to be done to meet that firm's individual needs. Well, there's also the possibility, the very real possibility, of having custom dashboards. So if your firm has key performance indicators that are unique, or that aren't in the initial, offering of what comes with the default dashboards, or they have something that is just outside the scope of what tabs data holds, or can produce, we can still, just like we can write a custom report, we can write a custom dashboard. Of course, that custom dashboard would be yours. It would be something that would only show up for your people when they signed into the system. There is a cost for that, of course, just like there's a cost for custom reports, and it's basically an hourly thing that we're doing. We've been doing the custom reporting now for, probably 8-9 years. It's gotten more refined as we've gone on. And the same thing is true for the dashboard. So if you have a dashboard that is not part of our initial offering, all you need to do is talk to me or Bruce and find out if it can be done, how it would be done, and most importantly, how much it might cost to develop. Once it's developed, it's there, it's yours, it's ready for you to use, and it's always going to be there. So I think I covered all my bases. We've looked at a dashboard, we've kind of moved around it, we've interacted with it, we've seen how graphical it is. I think that's the key here, because remember when I was kind of fumbling around, admittedly that was theatrical, but I was fumbling around in that transaction file list trying to serve Ron's needs to analyze hourly billing data. And that report, I never even got to producing a report, but we all know what reports look like, whether they come from tabs or some other software. They're numbers. They're numbers on a page. They're not graphical in nature like this. This is a dashboard. It's meant to be interactive. It's meant to allow people to drill down, to change parameters, change conditions, change criteria, and it's most importantly, it's meant for people to see things in a way that really graphically illustrates and makes certain, keep using this term, key performance indicators, certain key metrics jump out at them. And that's the nature of a dashboard. It's like a report, but it's interactive, and it's very easy for people to understand. Whereas if we were to have gotten to the point where we printed all those reports Ron wanted in order to make this very detailed, interactive sort of analysis go on, Ron would be looking at those reports for hours and hours and trying to fiddle with numbers and trying to add things up and maybe porting things into spreadsheets to try and get this level of interactivity. So it's not something that you can do with a report, hence the need for dashboards. Now, what do you need to do this? An internet connection. What are we doing it with? We're doing it with something called Microsoft's Power BI. BI stands for Business Information, I believe, Business Intellect. Power BI is the name of the product from Microsoft. How are we able to do this if you don't have Power BI? Well, we've built a platform around Power BI that you log into. So it's not like you have to build this platform. It's not like we have to build this platform for you. We're doing it as a service to offer this to everyone. It's not like you have to have a certain version of some Microsoft product to get it. It's not like you have to even know what Power BI is. But that's what's happening. We're using something called Microsoft's Power BI, which allows us to build these dashboards in a Microsoft sort of environment. And we're using programming. We're basically using something called Visual Studio to write code that produces this portal that you log into to see these Power BI, Microsoft Power BI dashboards. That's the whole story. That's how we're doing it. That's how we're making this available to you. And as I said, it's available from anywhere. We are serving these dashboards up to whatever user in a browser. So you don't have to be at the office. You don't have to be on a PC that's connected to the office. You just have to be on a PC or some sort of device that's connected to the internet. And from there, you can look at our dashboards. Cost. We don't really know yet, but let me give you an idea of how we're trying to structure it. We want this to be something that everybody can use. We want this to be something that is not, there's not a big price point that's a barrier to entry. We know that there are other dashboard products out there. We know that a couple of them can interface with tabs if you know the right people and have the right connections to get it to happen, but they're very, very expensive. We plan on offering this at a monthly price with an initial price for the firm itself that would include a set number of users, and then if you go above that number of users, there'd be a very minimal upcharge for each additional user over that number. We are trying to make this extremely competitive with anything else out there that you can get because we've built it and we understand it and we know how to hook it into tabs, and that's the part that's going to make it expensive at a different platform. How do you get to try it? Well, when I logged in, you may have noticed that there was a button up front that said, please register here to try out Power Metrics. And eventually there will be more information here. As I said, the last part to get built in this environment is going to be the fluff that describes how it works and lets people know that. And so if you click that and put in your email and come up with a password and then confirm that password, should have a number, should have a letter, should have an uppercase, should have a lowercase, and does have to have at least one special character. And if you try to create a password that doesn't fit our criteria, because we have to keep this very, very secure, then we'll tell you that. So if you simply put in your email address and create a password, you will then get to a screen that says, hey, somebody from Attorney Computer Systems will contact you to get the connector set up, and we will do that. If you want to beta test, fill out this information. If you're not wanting to beta test, just wait until we announce the product's available, or check back here, in a couple weeks, and you'll be able to still sign up and try it for free for a week. Now, there is going to be a charge to set it up because it does take a bit of time and a bit of effort and expertise to get the connector running on your server and doing the right things. But we will let you try it, and we will make that installation of the connector without charging you, with the understanding that if you say, yes, this is wonderful, I'm going to continue, you will be billed for that setup fee, and then, of course, you'll be billed on an ongoing basis. So, bottom line, if you want to be a beta tester, come here, sign up right away. Okay. If it's already out, because this is being recorded, and so there's a possibility that people are listening to this after today, which, by the way, is 9/8 of 2017, in case you're wondering. If you want to sign up and just try it out for free after the beta test, you just come here and do the same thing. You set this up, and very quickly you'll be contacted by somebody who will set up an appointment to install that connector. I think we have a question, Patty.
Scott is asking, do you anticipate the number of users for the cost being the number of billing timekeepers or the number of people with access to the metrics?
Access to the metrics. We don't, at least as far as we're thinking now, we don't really care about the size of the firm. We don't want to say a little firm, well, okay, we haven't really totally decided that. But when I'm talking about number of users, I am talking about number of people that can access the system. We anticipate that this will be priced in such a way that it will still be attractive to a sole practitioner if that's what they want to do. Number of users that can access the system is what we're talking about. Okay, so there we have it. That was fun. This is an exciting product for us. It's something that people have been asking for this for years. And really, it's not like we were ignoring you. It's more a matter of the technology being there that allows us to build this platform. And with Microsoft Power BI coming into the scene, and with it being built into something called Visual Studio, that gives us the tools we need to build this sort of a neat infrastructure relatively easily, whereas if we tried to do this 5 years ago, it would have been much, much, much more difficult. And of course, it wouldn't be a live event at Attorney Computer Systems if we didn't take you to our website at the end and tell you how to get to all of our exciting video content that we have. And if you're watching this as a recorded version of something, you probably are already aware of all the exciting video content that we have on our website, but maybe you're not. And so I will tell you that if you go to attorneycomputersystems.com, noticing, of course, that there's emphasis there on the last S in the word system, then you will find that if you hover over the word videos, or better yet, if you click on the word videos in our menu bar, you will be taken to a page that describes all 6 of our video titles. We have 4 live events that occur every month. You are currently in a Coffee Pot webinar, which is one of those live events. Tabs 3, Practice Master, and World Docs all have their own virtual user group meetings, also live events that meet on the last Monday of the month, typically. The Coffee Pot webinars are almost always on a Friday, pretty much always on a Friday, and that does vary. It's not always a certain Friday of the month. And we also have our 2 pre-recorded non-live video series. Mary Jo has her eBytes video series where she does record 3 of these each month, one on Tabs, one on Practice Master, and one on World Docs. They're very short, 3, 2, sometimes 4 minutes, something very cool that we can explain very quickly that you may not know about. And these people love to zing through these and watch them one right after another. We also have our longer format Paul and Mary Jo show where I or Mary Jo will take a broader topic that requires a little bit more in-depth explanation, and we will take a deep dive, taking 10 or 15, sometimes 20 minutes to explain all the intricacies of that particular topic that we're discussing at that point. If you click on any of them, including our live events, so I'll do that for you, you will be taken to a page that tells you what the event is, describes, in this instance, the Coffee Pot webinar series, tells you when the next event is, it tells you what it is, and Patty's making light of me because I'm supposed to have determined what this was, but it's not there yet. It'll be there very soon. And gives 2 links to register. These 2 links are identical. They're just, some people like to see what they're clicking on, and some people will just click on that. It doesn't matter. They both take you to the same place. And as you scroll down, you'll find that we have pre-recorded recorded versions of everything else that we ever did. Now, this is what you're looking at right now. So it's currently in post-production. It's not live, so you won't see the video. But as you scroll down even further, you'll see actual videos of everything else we've ever done in whatever title you're looking at. This, of course, being our Coffee Pot webinars. So please, come here, scroll through these, look at them, browse them. You can't believe all the wealth of information that's out there waiting for you to use, and it's even searchable. So if you're looking, for instance, on how to email statements and tabs, you might type email and go right to an item this way, or you can hit enter or click on view all results and be taken to a list that tells you all the items that had the word email somewhere in their description and helps you zero right in on what it is you're looking for. So that's that. Everybody have a good rest of the day, and we will see you sometime in October to talk about something to be determined. Have a good day, everybody. Bye-bye.